A Texas lady came to town, and thus begins my story. She drew a hand with the best in town, which proved to be her glory. But now the game is ended, the king has had his day. A woman's cause defended, and soon you'll hear them say, she did a man's job, but there was no doubt she was a Texas lady. One day the sky was hazy, folks were feeling lazy. Came a Texas lady to town, to town. She smiled in all her splendor, gave her hand so tender. Maybe God had sent her to town. Her heart was filled with yearning for dreams to start anew. Love with hope returning were the dreams she made come true. So now the street is shady, all is calm and hazy. There's a Texas lady came to town, came to town.
Chris Mooney still losing? He's losing the big one. She just beat it with an ace-jack for 2,000. Does it seem possible? Anybody find out who she is? Nobody ever saw her before. I guess Mooney wish he never had. Also bet he side got off the riverboat this morning. 9-10, jack, queen, possible. King. King is high.
Check.
That's $2,000. The lady raises $2,000. Pair of sixes. Pair of sixes wins.
I trust you're not too tired to continue.
But, Mr. Mooney, you're out of money.
If I might have just a few minutes.
Of course.
Just
Yes, sir.
some supper for the lady.
No, thanks.
It's very simple. You lend me 10,000 apiece, and you take all the profits.
Then what's left for you?
Pride, Nickerson, pride. By tomorrow, I'll be up the river to St. Louis that this girl's got 20,000 of my money.
What makes you think you can get it back?
Experience, talents, they always pay off in the long run.
She's no dummy, Chris. She's a good, sound player with plenty of nerve to back her up.
Who is she? Where'd she come from? How'd she happen to pick this particular game?
I've been wondering about that myself.
My advice is to forget it.
And have them say that Chris Mooney got cleaned by a girl, not on your life. I want 10,000 from each of you.
But, Chris, you've got no collateral for that kind of a loan.
I have the best collateral in the world, my reputation.
Well, I think you're beating your head against a wall.
It's my head.
Yeah, it's your head.
Well, I'll go along.
All right. Give us a drink, Roland.
Possible flush. Ace queen is high. 5,000 is a bet. 5,000. The gentleman raises $5,000.
And 5 more.
Making a total of $15,000.
You have just enough to call, Mr. Mooney.
Pair of queens. Pair of queens win.
That'll be quite a lot of money to be carrying around. Would you like to have me see you home?
No, thank you. But if you cared to, you might have breakfast with me.
I'd be honored.
The St. Charles at 9.
St. Charles at 9. Good night.
Good night.
Chris, I think we'd better have a talk.
In the morning.
Now.
I said in the morning. Morning, Mrs. Chris. Good morning, Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, this is very nice. Even the coffee's ready.
I knew you wouldn't be late.
Not a chance. Since 3 o'clock this morning, I've been waiting for 9 o'clock. It's easy to see that you had a pleasant sleep.
Oh, I slept like a log.
And generally speaking, I do too, but not this time. I paced the floor all night.
Oh, of course. Your reputation losing to a woman. Would you like me to make an affidavit swearing it was pure luck?
If I'm not extremely careful, I'm going to wind up liking you very much.
You mustn't let that happen.
I'll try not to. I'm curious about one thing. I know most of my colleagues, especially the few with skill, but I don't know you. Obviously, you've never worked the river.
No.
Where have you worked?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Mr. Mooney, but I'm not what you think at all. I'm just an average woman born and brought up in New Orleans.
New Orleans? And why haven't I heard of you? How have you managed to keep your talents hidden?
I just told you, I'm not a professional gambler.
I don't believe you, but if that kind of modesty pleases you. In any case, this much is certain. You do play cards remarkably well. Now, you and I together, working the riverboats as a team, strictly business. We could make a fortune, important money, future unlimited.
I'm very flattered. But I happen to be going into the newspaper business.
No comparison, unless, of course, you own the newspaper.
I do.
You do? Here?
Fort Ralston.
Doesn't sound very impressive. Where's that?
In Texas somewhere. I'm not quite sure.
You own a newspaper and you don't even know where it's located?
It's a legacy. You see, I've been very busy the past year or so, practicing my cards, waiting for the proper moment to play poker with you.
With me?
With you. Christopher Mooney. University of Tennessee, class of 73. Refused a nomination for Congress because he didn't want the responsibility. Said he preferred gambling.
You know a lot?
Oh, I've made a career of you, Mr. Mooney. Maybe that will give you a clue. That was my father.
I never cheated in a card game in my life.
With your experience, you didn't have to. He embezzled $50,000, which he lost to you. And then he killed himself. When I sat opposite you last night, did you think it was by mere chance? It was all very carefully planned, Mr. Mooney. Even this. I wanted you to know.
May I go now?
I think you'll find it all there, Mr. Knox. $50,000.
You mean you want to open an account, Prudence?
No, I'm closing one. My father's.
Prudence, where did you get this amount of money?
I assure you, Mr. Knox, it's perfectly legitimate.
Mystery woman in black wins fortune from Chris Mooney. Prince of gamblers drops $50,000. Was that you?
In a rented black gown.
Chris Mooney? It's incredible. How did you do it?
Oh, it's a long story, Mr. Knox.
I see. Well, the bonding company paid the embezzlement long ago. You don't owe the bank anything.
I feel that I do. I can't shake the thought that somehow I was responsible. Somewhere along the line, I failed him.
Well, it's a remarkable thing you're doing. But you've magnified your responsibility all out of proportion. You've got to stop brooding about it. Your father had a weakness for gambling, but you can't possibly blame yourself for that. For the past few years, you've lived like a hermit because you think some stigma's attached to you. You've got to start thinking of your own life.
I intend to. I'm going into business.
Business?
Yes, a newspaper in Texas.
Texas? Well, that's fine. Wonderful. New country, new faces, new people. Just what you need. If ever I can be of help.
Thank you, Mr. Knox.
Goodbye and good luck.
Goodbye.
Good afternoon.
Chipper, ain't he? Comes bouncing in like nothing happened.
Well, I must say, experience and talent certainly paid off last night.
You only lost money. I lost prestige.
You won't mind if we can't work up too much sympathy about your social standing, will you? You owe us $30,000. We want to know what you intend to do about it.
You just have to be patient.
How patient? Tomorrow, next week, next year?
Oh, I don't think it should take that long.
Where's the girl now?
He's on our way to Texas.
It's as plain as the nose on his face. You and that big talk about pride and prestige. You and that card shark framed the whole thing.
You're mistaken, Brad.
You think we're fools? You probably split the money already.
You draw that gun and I'll kill you. I intend to pay you back every penny I owe you. After that, I'm off for Texas to find that card shark.
I should think she'd be the last person you'd want to find, seeing how much damage she's already done to you.
Too much damage. That's the reason.
We should be there by mid-afternoon. Generally takes about 6 hours to make the 30 miles from Murdoch.
I don't mind.
Most women do.
It's a big and exciting country.
Some of the excitement wears off after 20-odd years. I came here right after the war, in '66. Had Indians then, and buffalo. They crossed here. This don't look like much of a river now, but in season it can get pretty rambunctious.
Are there any buffalo?
The buffalo are gone, and the Indians have all been put on a reservation. Now we got only cowboys and cattle. The Ralston Sturdy brand is worn by more beef than any other brand in the world. More than 2 million acres of open rangeland.
All of it belonging to just 2 men?
That's right.
It staggers the imagination.
Yeah, this country will do that.
Yes. What's Fort Ralston like?
It's a pretty little town with big trees. Sets in a beautiful valley. All right.
Where'd you get the pretty passenger?
All right, boys, stand back. This is Miss Prudence Webb. She's going to live here at Fort Ralston.
How do you do, man?
How do you do?
The Clarion office is right there, Miss Webb.
Thank you. I'll call on Mr. Ballard later.
All right. I'll take you over to the house as soon as I finish unloading this mess.
Mr. Ballard?
That's right.
I'm Prudence Webb.
What does this mean?
It means I'm the legal owner of this newspaper.
What? I don't know anything about it. I'm Clay Ballard. Albert is my brother.
Where is he?
Back east somewhere. Haven't heard from him in years. Besides, that paper's made out to Edmund Webb.
Edmund Webb was my father.
Dead?
Yes.
In that case, you got no proof my brother signed that paper.
But there are 3 witnesses. Their names are right here.
Guess you'll have to produce them.
Don't you know your own brother's signature?
When my brother left this town, he turned this paper over to me. And I've been running it ever since. Now, all of a sudden, somebody I never saw before walks in here and says it belongs to them.
It does belong to me. Your brother signed this document.
Look, lady, that's something you're going to have to prove.
Could have told you Clay Ballard wasn't going to turn the paper over to you. Everybody knows he's a parrot. Only prints what Ralston and Sturdy tell him to print.
But I need help, Mr. Winfield. Is there a lawyer in town?
Well, we got one, but he don't practice at it very much anymore.
Where would I find him?
He lives, come, I'll show you.
What are you knocking for? Come in.
Mr. Gower?
Yes?
I'm Prudence Webb. I've come to see you on a legal matter.
Legal matter? You are a stranger. Who sent you to me?
Mr. Winfield?
Oh, Stringy. Oh, do sit down, Miss
Webb.
Webb.
Thank you.
What interest could an attractive woman like you possibly have in a hole like Fort Ralston?
I want to have your opinion on this note.
Edmund Webb, who's he?
My father, he's dead.
It looks valid if you can prove that Albert Ballard actually signed it.
That's why I'm here. I'd like you to help me.
To get possession of the Clarion?
Yes.
Why in the world do you want it?
Because it's the only thing I own.
But it's worthless, Miss Webb. No matter who owns the paper, it still has to take orders from Micah Ralston and Whit Sturdy. Can't exist otherwise. I'm sure my garrulous friend Winfield explained our situation to you.
Yes, he did, but I intend to change the policy of the Clarion.
Miss Webb, it's apparent that you're not yet aware that you've moved back into the Middle Ages. But I've always had a great admiration for knights in shining armor, and I wish you well.
Does that mean you won't help me?
That's right.
But why?
Because Ralston and Sturdy have effective ways of dealing with anyone who takes issue with them. These men are giants, Miss Webb. They pioneered this country years ago. They fought Indians, famine, weather, every other adversity, but they stuck it out and built an empire. Today they rule it with an iron hand.
And when you boil down all those pretty words, it simply means that you're afraid.
Yes.
I regret very much to have troubled you.
I regret it, too, because for a moment, you brought back memories of happier days.
When the windmills were smaller and easier to tilt?
Just let's say when I was younger.
I'm terribly sorry for you, Mr. Gower.
Have some more coffee, Miss Webb?
Thank you, Mrs. Winfield.
Well, for goodness sake.
Good evening, Nanny. Miss Webb.
Cass Gower, I hardly recognized you. What are you up to?
I've come to confer with my client, Miss Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Gower. Sit down.
Now, I'd like to hear the whole story.
What are you getting at, Cass?
These letterboxes, don't people rent them?
Some?
Does the Clarion have a rented box?
Uh-huh.
To rent a box, don't you have to fill out a card, sign something?
Sure, postal regulations.
Do you keep those cards?
Sure, postal regulations.
Wouldn't Albert Ballard have signed the card for the Clarion box?
If he'd got a box, he'd have to sign for it.
Maybe you see the card.
There it is.
You're absolutely alike.
No doubt about it.
I had to serve the papers on Ballard, Mr. Ralston. The judge gave it to me. I had to serve it.
Who is this Prudence Webb anyway, Sheriff?
I don't know, Mr. Sturdy. She just seems to have come from out of nowhere.
What's this deal you're trying to put over on Ballard, Judge?
I had to serve him, Micah.
Well, unserve him.
I can't do that.
Why can't you?
Because the plaintiff had certain rights, Whit.
You heard me. Dismiss the case.
Micah, will you listen? The case has to be tried now. When Cascour's sober, he knows his law. Any trickery with him, and we'll find ourselves facing the state Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. Where was the Supreme Court 25 years ago? When the Kiyos and the Comanches were raiding our stock, and the Apaches were coming in from the south, stealing our horses and killing our hands, and the renegade whites were taking what was left. Where was the Supreme Court then?
But, Micah, things are changing. The law of the state of Texas is closer to you now.
Not as far as we're concerned. This is our country, and it's going to stay our country.
Will I serve Ballard again?
No. He'll appear, or he'll be in for contempt of court.
He's done it! He's done it!
Done what?
The judge, he's awarded the Clarion to that Webb woman.
Come on, let's get the boys.
Wait a minute, Micah. Let's consider this matter.
What's to consider?
For one thing, we don't have to send all the boys after one little woman.
That one little woman can grow pretty big with a newspaper behind her. She can cause us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but maybe there's a better way to handle it.
What better way?
Well, money. I'm sure she wants the paper only for what she can get out of it.
I got a feeling Whit's right, Micah. A few thousand might do it.
You think so?
Yes.
Well, maybe it'll work. See what you can do, Ballard.
Wait.
Mr. Ralston. You got those strays in. Most of them look pretty fat, too.
They ought to be. They've been eating our grass.
Mr. Ralston, we've come peaceable and quiet to get our steers.
You got no steers to get, Gans.
Them in there. There must be 20, 25 head of ours.
They belong to the county.
They belong to the county. What are they doing in your corral?
It ain't our corral anymore.
Can't you read?
Now you men know the brands on them cattle are outlaw brands. Any steer wearing that mark's to be rounded up.
You came a far piece to round them up. Most of the Oklahoma line.
Maybe they drifted.
We want our steers, peaceful and quiet. We come to get them.
Why argue with them?
We want no trouble with you, Foley. Or you. We got off this range 3 years ago because you're big and we're little. But right is right. All your hired killers you got masquerading as deputies ain't changing that none. No, we've been peaceable men. We come to get our cattle.
All this arguing gives me a bellyache.
Why, you crazy fool!
Why, they drawed on me. You've seen it. They drawed on me.
Yeah.
Runs Jess Foley's score up pretty high.
How is such a thing possible?
Survival of the fittest. Foley's the fittest. Your old man Gantz was one of them.
Yeah. Bad medicine to draw on Foley.
Speak to you a minute.
I'm prepared to offer you $2,500 for the paper. A lot more than the Clarion's worth.
No doubt about that.
Good. If you'll just make out a bill of sale.
I don't think you understand, Mr. Ballard.
I won't argue. I just saw what happens to people who argue too much. $3,500.
The Clarion's not for sale.
$5,000. That's certainly fair enough.
More than fair. No?
$10,000.
What do we have to do to convince you that the Clarion's not for sale?
You mean to tell me you're going to try to publish it yourself?
I'm going to publish it, Mr. Ballard.
You need a lot of help.
I tell you one thing. They won't have much luck influencing Prudence Webb. She's got a strong will. Reverend, pass the water, please.
She must have a strong will. She's got you drinking water.
Never mind.
All right. Now, I ask you to consider this. The day after tomorrow, the big roundup starts. 100 or more cowboys to be fed, supplies to be bought. And most of this stuff coming from Amarillo, hauled in by RS wagons. Now, if we had a railroad bringing it to your door, you businessmen could compete with the houses in Amarillo.
What do you know about business?
I know this. Ralston and Sturdy didn't give you a chance to order supplies for them.
They know you men are merchants. Why don't they give you something besides crumbs?
Nobody gets anything but crumbs because nobody's got any guts.
Please, Cass, must you be so graphic?
It's time, Reverend. Ralston and Sturdy have run this territory so long it's become sacrilegious to speak against them. The railroad will help everybody, and Prudence Webb knows that. That's why I'm for her.
Well, we're all for her, but I don't think she'll get very far against Ralston, Sturdy and Company.
They may let her operate for a while, but once she crosses them, they'll run her out of the state.
I guess it's too late to goad you old-timers into showing some guts, but maybe the newcomers won't be so scared.
I hope you make them rear up on their hind legs and fight back.
Well, as you Texans say, I'm sure aiming to try.
Well, dog my hide if it ain't a woman newspaper man.
I always did say there wasn't enough pretty women in Texas.
Sure makes a guy feel sad when he has to go back on a roundup.
Most impolite bunch of cowpokes ever seen in my life. Guess I'll have to help the lady myself.
Oh, thank you, no. I don't need any help.
But I'd enjoy helping you, ma'am. Said that she didn't need no help. I didn't mean no harm, Jess. You reckon I might have a copy of that notice?
Why, if you like.
I'd like it fine. I'm obliged. I'm saving these. Got me a trunk full already.
Why should you want to save that?
One of these days I'm going to learn how to read. And I can see for myself what's been said about me.
Well, there's nothing in that about you.
There ain't? What's it say then? Would you make it out for me?
How would it be if I taught you to read, and then maybe you could make it out for yourself?
Would you? Would you do that?
Mr. Foley, I'm sure this technique's been very helpful in the past, but this time it won't work.
You mean you ain't as green as I figured you was?
That's right, Mr. Foley. Now, if you'll excuse me.
You want this back?
You may keep it.
Gracias. Will I see you at the Fandango tomorrow night?
Fandango?
Yeah. Dancing, music, noise. Over the wigwam. We leave on the roundup the next day.
I don't think so.
Adios. Morning, Cass.
Morning, Jess. What do you want?
He evidently thought the notice was the story of his latest exploit. It seems that Mr. Foley keeps a scrapbook. Said he had a whole trunk full of them.
That's very funny. Jess Foley with a trunk full of write-ups. I don't know what he's saving them for. He can't read.
He can't what?
He can't read nor write.
Cass. Will you take me to the Fandango tomorrow night?
Why?
Private reason.
No place for you? Bunch of drunken cowboys letting off steam. They'll turn this town upside down.
I'm also a newspaper woman now. I have to know what's going on.
We have to go this fast.
I'm going to a Fandango. I ain't missed a Fandango in 10 years. We'd have been there before if that darn steam train hadn't been 3 hours late.
Why should anybody want to change things? Look at them. Did you ever see people having a better time? They've got no complaints. Free food, free liquor, free everything.
You know, no other outfit does this.
Of course not. Why does there always have to be somebody who wants to change things?
Nothing stands still, Micah. Nothing.
You read too many books, Jim.
You sure you don't want to change your mind?
No.
You see him?
Who?
Just Foley.
I just want to talk to him.
You're asking for trouble. There she is.
Bring her over.
Right. Ralston and Sturdy want to see you. Tell them to come to her office.
No, Cass, I'll go along. Aren't you coming?
I'll wait at the bar.
Where?
At the punch bowl. This is her.
I'm Prudence Webb.
I'm Ralston. This is my partner, Sturdy. Judge Herzog. You've met him.
Pleasure, ma'am.
Meet Moore. Yep. Get her some punch.
Punch.
Punch. Sit down.
Thank you.
Well, I've never met a newspaper woman before. I guess maybe you're the prettiest newspaper woman in the whole United States.
Well, anyway, the newest.
We hear you come out here all by yourself.
There's a reason for that, Mr. Ralston. There was no one to come with me.
Oh, you got no family?
No.
A woman running a newspaper? You ought to be back wherever you live, building a family.
I live here, Mr. Sturdy, in Fort Ralston.
We hear that you turned down $10,000 for that newspaper. You any idea how long it would take you to make $10,000?
The paper will grow with the town once we get the railroad.
There ain't gonna be no railroad.
Railroad's got to run on land. We own the land.
But there are federal laws about that.
Cass Gower talking. It's your punch, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
Excuse me.
Your help, gentlemen.
That's one of them signs I was speaking about. Punch. Is that what you aim to do? Keep people stirred up about the railroad?
I believe in progress.
Yes, so I've noticed. The Railroads versus Fort Ralston by Prudence Webb. Would you sell a half interest in the paper for $10,000?
If I held out, I wouldn't be at all surprised if you offered 20.
Would you take 20?
The Clarion's the only thing I've ever owned. It's not for sale.
Then you're declaring war.
Your words, Mr. Ralston, not mine.
Out here, you're either for somebody or against them.
I think I'd better get back to Cass. I'm honored to have met you.
Too bad we're on opposite sides of the fence.
Oh, I hope, sir, it won't be fatal to either of us.
Gentlemen, if I may be permitted an observation, I think you have your hands full.
Thanks to you.
How do you like the punch?
I expected you to come back with your throat cut.
Oh, they're not so bad. But as you said, they've been making the rules for so long, they can't get out of the habit.
Dance?
Knows you come.
Well, that's more than I knew. I only decided an hour ago.
You decided yesterday. I seen it in your face.
Is that another of your specialties? Reading faces?
It helps keep a man alive. I was hoping you wouldn't be afraid with me.
I'm not afraid of you. Your reputation as a killer doesn't frighten me.
I ain't talking about man scare. Man scare you get over. I'm talking about the kind of scare you got.
What kind is that?
The worst kind. I've seen in the eyes of animals sometimes when it thunders and lightens. I've seen in the eyes of a newborn when it strays away from the herd. That's an awful bad kind of scare to have. And you got it. I seen those things in your face. That ain't all I seen either.
This is ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
Well, this is the wigwam, Mr. Mooney.
Certainly sounds lively.
It is lively. Pardon me.
Shouldn't have done that.
Why?
You don't cut in Texas.
I think it's something else. You don't dance in Texas either, not to this awful music. Come on, I want to talk to you.
You had enough?
Well, Mr. Mooney, Mr. Gower.
How do you do, sir?
How to do?
I'm afraid you made an enemy.
At the risk of being impertinent, Mr. Mooney, I'd suggest you start putting some distance between you and just Foley.
It's nice when people are concerned about your welfare.
Well, it's your life. Good night, Cruz.
Good night, Cass, and thank you. Why did you come here?
I had to go somewhere. You've ruined my reputation all along the river.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure the news hasn't traveled this far.
You're not planning to stay here, are you?
Why not? New country, new people. You?
Me? I've given up poker, Mr. Mooney.
You mean I'm taking this long, dusty ride for nothing?
I'm afraid so.
Well, then I'll have to think of a good reason for staying here.
Let's stop fencing, shall we? I'll give you a good reason for leaving.
What?
Foley. This is no joke. You heard what Cass said about him.
No, your concern flatters me.
Would you drop the pose and try to be realistic? Everybody here will tell you this man's a killer.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I'd like to see Jess Foley.
You sure?
Yes, Mr. Alston, I'm sure.
When I saw you riding up, I thought you changed your mind about selling the newspaper.
I'll never change my mind about that.
Here's Foley, down by the lake.
Good day. Dad?
Morning.
I'd like to talk to you. I want to explain about Chris Mooney. He's from the South. He doesn't understand Western customs.
If it hadn't been for you, I'd have killed him.
Well, I'm glad you don't hold a grudge. I wanted to know before you left on the roundup.
I ain't going on the roundup. I do hold a grudge.
Oh, come on.
I find him in town at 4 o'clock, I'll kill him.
Can't you be civilized? Stringy doesn't go to Murdoch until tomorrow. He can't walk to the railroad.
I don't care how he gets you to the railroad.
Just listen to me.
What's he to you?
Nothing. I met him in New Orleans. He's a friend, that's all.
The far distance for a friend to come. You tell him to light out. You go crawl back in his arms and tell him just that.
Geronimo surrenders to General Crook. Would you like that to go alongside of the new railroad editorial?
Yes, Chuck, that's fine.
Wasn't such a good idea sending us to talk to Mr. Mooney. All we did was to rile him up.
Foley's threat didn't upset him half as much as not being able to have breakfast served in his room.
Stringy even offered to make a special trip to take him to Murdoch.
Yeah.
Well, what do we do now? Stand by and let another murder happen?
Look at him, strutting like a peacock.
Good morning. Am I interrupting something, or has the committee finished making its report?
We finished.
It's up to you now, Prudence.
Well, I finally got breakfast in my room. You know, the process of civilizing this community may not be so difficult after all.
This is nothing to laugh about.
No, indeed it isn't. Hard beds with only one sheet, cold water for shaving, rotten coffee.
Can't you realize that you're in danger? You've got to leave.
You know, all these comic opera bad men follow the same tiresome formula. Get out of town by dawn, by noon, by sundown. Billy the Kid hardly cold in his grave, and already every smelly cowboy in the West trying to imitate him.
Well, this one's giving a good imitation. You'll find the last 2 men he killed at the Undertaker's across the street. And he'll kill you, too.
No, not until he has an audience. Not until 4 o'clock.
Chris, will you listen to me? He's made up his mind. I tried to explain to him.
Explain what to him?
About last night, that you're a stranger.
Let me tell you something. If I ever need any explaining done, I'll do it myself.
What's going on here?
It's none of your business.
Miss Webb, it's my duty to serve you with this paper. It's a court order. Delinquent taxes on the Clarion. Ain't been paid in 4 years.
How can I be held responsible for that?
You accepted the transfer of the paper with all its assets and liabilities.
$6,000?
The whole town's not worth that much.
I haven't got $6,000.
The paper can be sold at auction any time after midnight tomorrow. And you can just bet Clay Ballard will be there to buy it with RS money.
I'll let them. Prudence, let's get out of here. New York, New Orleans, Chicago, you name it.
I hate to say it, but I think maybe he's right.
I'm not leaving Fort Ralston. The Clarion's mine, and they're not going to steal it.
Well, having done almost everything else in my life, it now begins to look as if I'm in the newspaper business. How much money have you got?
Well, a little over $200.
Let me have it. Got almost 200 here myself. What about you?
Me? You're welcome to my savings. $350.
My friend, you're a real sport. Now, which of the town's 2 gambling houses most likely to have $6,000
Oh,
for the
no.
till?
Why, the Wigwam, of course.
Chris.
Don't worry. I've got almost 3 hours.
Well, you have. The proprietor. That's me.
Oh.
Don't let the apron fool you. I just happen to like clean glasses.
And the roasties that I myself share. Not too early for a little action.
What kind of action?
Please yourself.
Pharaoh?
Suits me fine. I don't mind bucking the tiger.
I'd be happy to accommodate you personally.
I only need about $6,000. You got that much cash on hand?
I generally carry that amount around in my pocket.
$300.
Place your bets. Ace is the loser. 6 is the winner. Place your bets. Three is the loser. 3 is the winner. Split. Place your bets, please. King is the loser. 8 is the winner. Place your bets, please.
Yes?
Yeah?
Moody's sitting there in the wigwam as cool as a cucumber, playing faro with Meade Moore.
What of it?
The wigwam's got a loft. Man could hide up there, and from down below, nobody'd ever see him. If he had a rifle, he could pick off Mooney with the first shot.
Ambush, you mean?
Sure, no problem at all. Listen, Jess, I only meant to help.
Now, get out of here before I stomp your brains out.
The loser is 3, and the winner is 9.
Maybe we'd better turn this into a poker game and get Prudence to play.
Hmm?
It's a private joke.
Place your bets, please.
It's kind of silly batting your head against a wall. Let's make this deal all or nothing.
It's your tiger. Place your bets. The loser is 8. And the winner is 5.
Sorry, Prudence.
It's all right.
You're quite a woman. Quite a woman.
Stringy will be here in a few minutes to take you to Murdoch. I asked him to.
Cancel it.
Chris, there's no sense to this. You have no reason to fight Jess Foley. There's nothing to fight for.
I think there's a lot to fight for.
Oh, no, Chris. He's sure to kill you. Why should you give up your life?
I hadn't planned to.
But you can't take that chance. You've got to go. Please. Please. If you'll go, I'll go with you.
Now I know why I came out here. Now I know what I've been waiting to hear. You tell Stringy we'll be ready to leave at 4:15. May I have a key, please?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to take a nap. Call me at 20 minutes to 4.
Yes, sir. It's 3:40, sir.
Thank you.
Chris, you must listen to us.
I know you all mean well, but I've got to do this my way. You understand that, don't you, Prudence?
Yes, Chris, I understand.
Where you going with the check, Chris?
Melodrama's what Foley wants. Melodrama's what he'll get. right, get your hands up. Now turn around, stop walking.
Where'd you keep that gun, Chris?
Why didn't you kill him?
I'm sure he wished I had.
Thank God you didn't, Chris.
Chris, your hat.
Oh, thank you, Stringy.
Hold it, Mooney. You're under arrest.
What? Why, you four-flusher...
Take it easy, Stringy.
Give me the gun.
Sheriff, he was forced into this shooting.
The case will have to be tried in court, Miss Webb.
Come on.
Well, that sets a precedent. Arresting a man for shooting in self-defense.
What will they do with him, Cass?
They can't do much. They ought to pay him for shooting a skunk, but they have to save face.
How do you do, ma'am? Oh, Mrs. Gans. For a moment, I didn't recognize you.
I've come for my man.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
Judge Herzog, you ever hear of a habeas corpus?
I know you know your law, Cass, but you needn't be insolent. Do you wish to make formal application for habeas corpus?
I do, Your Honor, for the body of one Chris Mooney.
What's he being held for?
Vengeance. So that's how he did it.
Yep, he's got it attached to this strap. Snaps right out. Them Southerners are way ahead of us when it comes to tricks.
Sheriff, that's the legal order for the body of Chris Mooney.
Body? He ain't dead.
Don't argue. Deliver him to me as the paper says.
Habeas corpus. Mooney, come out here.
Oh, Cass.
You're free, Chris.
Free?
Judge Herzog granted me a habeas corpus.
How much does that cost?
An even 100.
Where'd you get the money, Cass?
From Meade Moore. He said he was glad to help a good sport.
Can I have my derringer, please? And my harness.
Mooney, don't press your luck too far.
Getting drunk won't help. That won't make a town stop laughing at you.
I'll stop him from laughing.
There's only one way. You gotta kill him.
I'll kill him.
A few more drinks, you won't even be able to see him.
I'll see him all right.
Did Chris?
No, it was Mrs. Gantz.
Lestrade.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks for the favor, Leith.
Oh, forget it. What do you have?
Just a short one. What's all the rumpus about?
Boys are celebrating.
Yeah, what?
Just Foley. Dead.
He's dead, but I didn't...
No, no. It was Mrs. Gantz.
Mrs. Gantz.
Mrs. Gantz. What are your plans now, Chris?
Stringy's taking me and Prudence to Murdoch.
This is a big country with a big future. You could grow up in it.
You're welcome to it. You and Ralston and Sturdy and all the bootlicking businessmen.
Maybe things will be different now that Foley's dead.
Not until the same thing happens to Ralston and Sturdy will it be any different.
Tell you what, I'll make you a partner.
Thanks, me. But I promised Prudence. I promise it was more of a condition we're getting married.
Going back to New Orleans?
Thought we'd try Chicago for a while.
Go on, take it. Take me back when you like someplace.
Oblige me.
Hey! Goodbye toast to Chris Mooney. Good luck. Reed, Haley, Wilson. What's that? It's a legal order. Chris will be along in a few minutes.
Thank you, Cass. I hate to run away.
I hate to see you go. But your fight hasn't been all in vain, Prudence.
Whoa! Ready to go, Chris? I got all the luggage.
Thanks, Stringy. We've been right along.
Well, we're off to Murdoch, and the trip going will be a lot more pleasant than it was coming. Oh, it's Chokes. Here we are, my friends. And many thanks.
But that's more than I gave you.
A little interest on the loan.
Prudence! Chris! We bought you a wedding present.
Here's a receipt for the back taxes. We just paid it to Judge Herzog.
We decided not to let you leave Fort Ralston.
Well, Prudence?
Oh, how can we thank you?
We thank you.
Mr. Trump, we're going to put out a special edition.
That's all set.
Yeah.
Who is it?
It's Clay Ballard, Micah. There's been a revolution at Fort Ralston.
A revolution?
Yes, the people have taken over the town, just about turned it upside down.
What happened to Foley and the sheriff?
Foley's dead and the sheriff's been locked up. The people are going to elect a new council, mayor, and a new sheriff.
Who's behind all this?
Everybody. Chris Mooney and the girl. Meade Moore and the businessmen put up the money.
All right, if they want a war, they're going to get it. Bob, rouse out every man. We're going back in.
What about the roundup?
That can wait.
Now, folks, be a little patient. The committee is just about finished counting the votes, and we'll have the results for you in a minute or two.
The results of the election under the new city charter are as follows.
Judge of the county court, Terence Gower. For sheriff, Meade Moore. And Fort Ralston's first mayor, Chris Mooney.
And now that we have rediscovered freedom, let us all have the courage to preserve it. Now that's all we have to say, except I don't want to see any of you in my court.
Ralston and Sturdy are coming with all their men.
Now listen, everybody. None of us thought that Ralston and Sturdy would take this line down, but there's no need to get panicky about them. They're coming in here to threaten us, to try to scare us back into our shells. All we've got to do is stand our ground. This is our town now, and we've got to make up our minds that if we have to, we'll fight for it. That kind of language they understand. So get your guns and be prepared for anything. But don't anyone fire a shot until you're ordered to do so. And above all, don't lose your heads.
That's what's going on here, Gas.
Mayor Mooney will answer that question, Micah.
Mayor Mooney?
The people have finally exercised their rights, Mr. Ralston.
It's all perfectly legal. Why, you fancy two-bit gambler?
Might as well make up your mind that the old days are gone, Micah.
You're going to have to accept things as they are. I accept nothing. This is our town, and we're going to run it just as we've always done. And we'll hang anybody that disagrees. That's the way it is.
That's the way it is. The people have a right to defend their property.
You have nothing to do with the township, Micah. It's been deeded and recorded as public property.
Very well. But the land around ain't public property. It belongs to us. You take the township. Try and get out of it. All right, Hank. Take half the men and seal up that end of the town. The rest of you come with me.
Out, we won't last very long.
If you feel that way, Mr. Wilson, maybe you'd better leave with him.
Stop! How's your side?
Mine is wrapped up pretty tight, Hank.
Good. Everything's all right, Mr. Ralston. We got them completely surrounded. Nobody can get in or out.
Good. They wanted a town, now they got one. Stop them.
Get your hands off them bridles. This here's the United States mail. Can't you read what it says?
Where do you think you're going, Stringy?
To Murdoch with the mail. You can't stop the United States mail from coming or going. You're not bigger than the government.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
But you don't know Micah Ralston like we do. Once he makes up his mind, nothing can budge him.
Nothing can budge us either.
He'll hang on till doomsday.
You're not much of a fighter, are you, Mr. Wilson?
Not when I got no chance of winning.
You're not worth fighting for.
Now, wait a minute, Cass. We're doing exactly what they want us to do. Argue among ourselves.
Talking like that, spreading poison.
There are ways to shut him up. Wilson, if you don't stick it out now, you'll lick for the rest of your life.
Stringy will bring help.
But who knows when?
Now, they probably killed him by this time.
I don't think so. At any rate, we've got to stick it out.
much.
Looks like they're there to stay.
So are we.
Oh, I don't know, Chris. I'm beginning to feel so guilty about getting these people into this. Deliberately crowding myself into their destiny.
You didn't know any of these things were going to happen when you claimed the newspaper, did you? And you didn't deliberately crowd yourself into anyone's destiny. It just happened. You were carried along by events.
It was such a happy town before I came, before you came.
It only looked like a happy town. There's your proof over there. For years, this thing has been smoldering. It only needed a spark to touch it off. If it hadn't been you, it would have been someone or something else. It's the way with these things. You know, I was thinking, me standing here with you, crusading for the legal rights of a town that neither one of us ever heard of a month ago. It should seem strange, but somehow it isn't. This is exactly where we belong.
Yes, Chris.
Together. No more remorse?
No more remorse.
Well, consider. The girl, the man, the killing of Foley, the revolt of the town, one flowing from the other to make a pattern. It was ready to happen, and it happened. Nobody could have stopped it, and this siege won't stop it either. All of a sudden, things are not the same anymore. The force of people. Nothing can stop the force of people. Empty bellies, guns, mountains, oceans, nothing. You and your book reading. I remember some names in the books I've read of men who tried. Alexander, Caesar, Charlemagne, Napoleon. They couldn't read the signs either. Well, gentlemen, I'll now say goodbye. Oh, $6,000. Back taxes on the Clarion. Rightly belongs to the people. Them fellows I mentioned, you're better off than they were. You still got a chance if you stop being bullheaded.
That's right.
Winfield, postmaster, Fort Rawson.
Well, you've come a long way.
Had you? We need help. You know Rawson is sturdy?
Who doesn't?
Well, they're aiming to kill off the whole town. They got it blockaded. They got guns
All
and men.
right, all right. You need a drink of water. Help yourself.
They won't let anybody into town. And they won't let anybody out of the town. And his kids there won't have anything to eat.
Calm down. Supposing you start at the beginning. Tell us what this is all about.
Well, you see, the people got tired of being run over. So they drew up a charter, and they held an election. They elected a sheriff, a judge, and a mayor, and a...
The boys, Micah.
What?
They don't like this. They're getting restless.
Yeah, they're also getting paid.
The longer we sit here, the further away them cattle are drifting.
What will you do about the town? Just give it to them?
Looks to me like they got it already.
Not for long. A couple more days, we'll have them on their knees.
I don't know. A force of people.
You sound as crazy as that broken-down judge. Say, maybe you are as crazy as him.
Don't prod me, Micah.
Him and his books.
Well, he's right about one thing, and I ain't too mulish to admit it. This country's growing up.
Got any blankets?
Starving that town is the dumbest thing I ever heard of. It's gonna take him a couple of years to do that.
Then the old man will stay here for a couple of years. Once he gets his neck bowed, he's the honorest old man in the world.
Sure is.
See that guy on the mound?
Been watching him for a long time.
Does he bother you?
A little.
He bothers me a lot.
Stop this shooting, Micah.
Let them stop or give up.
Pete, where that shooting come from? First shot came from the edge of town. Hold your fire.
They fired first.
I said stop it. If they're going to fire on us, we've got to defend ourselves. I told you we should give up. We're not giving up. I tell you, it's no use. Oh, be quiet.
Where's Cass?
He's standing guard at the mound.
Mount.
Can you make them out?
Yes, Rangers.
Hold it!
Hold your fire! What do you two think you're doing, Ralston?
We're keeping trespassers off our property.
How, by starting a war? We got a right to protect ourselves.
Yes, and we aim to do it.
You'll do it in accordance to state law, not your own. You two have been running roughshod out in this territory long enough.
Roughshod? If we hadn't been roughshod, there wouldn't be no territory out here.
The people of Fort Ralston have a right to govern themselves. Trouble with you fellas, you can't get anything through your thick skulls.
This is our town. We built it. And nobody's going to take it from us. Not them or the Texas Rangers or nobody else.
All right, Ralston. You and Sturdy are under arrest. Get them on their horses.
Cover them, boys.
Men are you? Murdering innocent people because you can't bend them to your will. When is it going to stop? When everyone in the town has been slaughtered? Because that's what's going to happen. They'll die before they're given to you.
All right, men. Let's get along.
Why don't you stop being so bullheaded? What good's it going to do us to go to jail? Will it put things back the way they was 20 years ago? Get rid of the railroad for the people? This girl's right, Micah. Things have changed. Prudence, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Why did you come out here?
Captain, is it all right if we go ahead with the roundup?
You do that, Ralston. Here's $6,000. Ought to be just about enough to buy a new printing press. Good luck, Mr. Mayor.
All is calm and hazy.
Well, there go the last of the giants.
Came to town.